There we go. Hangout is live at 9:30 exactly. Sweet, I did it. My phone's at 9:30 first, and then this at 9:30. All right, that's pausing again. Man, we're gonna do this again. All right, real quick. I do another show called The Comic Call, and the episode I did on Wednesday seemed to be very herky-jerky. And I'm looking at my screen now, and it looks like I'm going to be having probably the same problem today. The sound quality was off, and it's kind of herky-jerky. I don't know if it has to do with the net neutrality stuff that's going on. We might discuss a little later today, or it was the updates to the computer I did. But this is it. This is it. This is what you're going to get. And I got my one viewer, so yay. Let me know, two viewers. Let me know, viewers, if I'm all herky-jerky and sound quality's bad because I had this issue last time. Oh, one viewer just jumped out and said, oh my God, it's this guy again, and left. So, but thank you, Mr. One Viewer. This is Dylan Knows. This is episode 199. It is 200 Eve, which means next week's episode will be episode 200 of this crappy little show. I cannot believe I'm actually going to be doing a 200th episode. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would be doing this as much as I have. So to celebrate, all right, thank you, Scott. Scott Troutman, ladies and gentlemen, watching again. Thank you, Scott. You're like my one constant viewer, so I appreciate you, my friend. This week, in honor of Patrick Smith, even though he's not here watching the show, I am not drinking Zima. I am going back to my Bing. Yay! Crisp apple is very refreshing. A little story about Bing, real quick, for those who haven't seen my show before. I like to drink when I'm doing my show. It doesn't necessarily have to be alcohol, but I like to drink something. And for the longest time, it was Bing, because up the street we had a Food Lion grocery store, and they carry the Bing. But when Wise took over, they deep sixed the Bing. And what Bing is really it's an energy drink. It's B vitamins, vitamin C, caffeine, ginseng, apple, and cherry juice. This is just one flavor. There's a cherry flavor, raspberry flavor, and a blackberry flavor. But there is a Food Lion up the road a little bit, about 10 minutes away. So I was up that way today. I was like, you know what? I need some Bing in my life. So I bought 4 containers, one of every flavor. So the next 4 weeks, you'll see that. I have been drinking Zima, and I have also been realizing that while I love Zima, and it brings me back to my college days, when I wake up in the morning, I feel crappy. So I don't want to do it again. So back to energy drinks. But what am I going to do on this spectacular 200 Eve episode? Well, we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff, including the fact that I'm just going to mention this. For the last 4 or 5 shows I've done of Dylan Knows and the Comic Call, I've gotten 3 thumbs down. So 3 thumbs down for Dylan Knows, that's a record. So fantastic. I think the most I've ever had is maybe 5 or 6. So people really hate me for some reason because I speak my mind. But no, that's not so bad. We're going to talk about, and also I'm also very, I'm trying different things. So if you've been reading my tweets, I've been dropping the boob word to try to get more people to come watch that. Apparently it's scaring away more people than it is bringing them in. But there is a reason why we're going to be talking about boobs. And it's not a bad reason. It's a bizarre kind of reason why. I'm going to continue to tell you how much and why I hate summer again. Something happened today that made me hate summer again, and one of the reasons why I hate summer. Maybe give you some advice on how to stay cool. You already pretty much know how to do it, but I need to kill some time, so I'll probably talk about that. Review of a book that I've been talking about for a while, but actually physically down here. It's called Braving It. This will keep you kind of cool also, because it takes place in the wilds of Alaska. I may or may not mention the fact that I am finally writing again. I may mention it or I might not. So you have to stay tuned. That's how I keep you in suspense, Scott. Also, food, because I like to talk about food a lot. Sad death story. Some science. Some bizarre things I saw in the news today. And for those who know me, you all know I'm a fan of comic books. I have Dylan Knows usually does a comic book show, but for the last couple months I haven't done one because my co-host MJ Khan has been going through a really rough time. first his mother was attacked and injured and had a stroke, and then she passed away. But I've been in contact with MJ, and we've decided August we'll start over fresh again. We'll have to see when, because the first weekend of August I will be in the Outer Banks. I might do it the Saturday before we go away, or I might try to do it down at the Outer Banks, but the Wi-Fi is crap down there, so the episode would probably be very herky-jerky and weak, and it might not be worth it. Though it would be kind of cool, though. Dawn did an episode of Snark Alec Radio down at the beach a few years ago, so we'll see. And we'll see that. Plus, I'm also going to be getting back with Jerry Fletcher probably in August also. June didn't quite work out because of schedules and stuff like that. And then July, she lost her grandmother, so she's been dealing with that right now. I got to get in contact with her, try to set up something in August. So August, we're going to get back to normal. So I've got a couple more weeks of July, thankfully. And I'll explain why I said thankfully when I detail why I hate summer. So we'll talk about that. And today, because what's the whole point of talking, Dylan? Because I'm a comic book fan, today at the D23 convention, I think it's the Disney convention, they released the first footage of Avengers Infinity War, which is the big, huge summer blockbuster that I'm already calling is going to be the biggest movie of the year next year. They haven't released it online yet. It's only going to be a matter of time. They're probably going to release it in a trailer format, hopefully soon. But I do have someone described the stuff, and oh my God, it sounds so freaking awesome. And I can't wait to talk about that. So we got some neat stuff to talk about. And just add one thing here to the whole superhero thing. This is no wonder I get 3 thumbs down. He's writing and not talking to anybody. All right, so, but Scott's used to it, so he knows what I'm doing. All right, so shall we start on page 1? Let's see. Should we talk about the elephant in the room and talk about boobs? Let's talk about boobs real quick. It's not as enticing as you may think it is, and. The reason why I brought it up is because, and just wait, I got it worked out. I got it worked out. When I do these solo shows, I talk about the Check I Day, which is the website which talks about every day is a holiday. There's a holiday every day, no matter how bizarre the holiday may be. There is literally a holiday every day. Now, not all of them are as big as, say, a Christmas or a Thanksgiving or Halloween or anything like that. But there are some crazy holidays out there. And checkiday.com is the best place for it. They also are on Twitter at checkiday. So every day or every show I do solo, I read a couple days worth of them. And so I was looking through today's, all right? And I'll read you today's. Today's were Gummy Worm Day, which I like gummy worms. It's really good. Gummy worms are really good for a Halloween dessert. I made this for Dawn. We were first dating, and when we first moved in together, like our first Halloween, I stayed home and I made dinner for her. It included dirty kitty litter, spaghetti, I think, and there's meatballs and stuff like that. And the graveyard dessert, which is much like, I guess, mud dessert or something like that, ground dessert, where it's chocolate pudding and cake mix and in some cases, people put the gummy worms in that to simulate the ground, stuff like that. The Halloween one is a graveyard, so you put like cookie, you get the Vienna fingers, which are circular, or not circular, is oval. You can cut it in half and they look like tombstones. You can put that on there, and then you get little ghosts and stuff like that. And you can get little gummy worms on there too, or gummy ghosts or whatever. But in the dirt thing, there's usually, it's crumbled Oreo cookies and chocolate pudding and cake mix and the gummy worms. So I like gummy worms. Gummy worms are, if you like gummy bears, it's just an extended version of the gummy bear. I love Horses Day. My cousin loves horses. She actually owns a horse, so that's pretty cool. National Be a Dork Day. Every day is National Be a Dork Day for this guy right here. National Respect Canada Day. So Bronwyn, we respect Canada, baby. National Tapioca Pudding Day. I've never really had tapioca pudding before, so I couldn't tell you. National Woody Wagon Day. What the hell is a woody wagon? Usually they have pictures too. This is a woody wagon. You see that? That's a woody wagon, and it's National Woody Wagon Day. Weird. St. Swithin's Day. I've heard that. I've heard that is today. Toss away the could-haves and should-haves day. That's interesting. And that's it for today. So it's like, okay, that's a pretty good holiday thing. And I'll go over some of the other ones in a second, but my boob story leads into this. So I'm going on Twitter after the situation that happened this morning, which I'm going to talk about a little later. I'm going on Twitter in the afternoon, and I'm just looking through stuff, and I just happened to notice a hashtag, National Boob Avi Day, something like that. And I was like, huh? Now, if you don't know, on Twitter, you have something called an avatar. And let's see if I can show you what mine looks like. For Dylan Proco, that's my avatar right there at the top. So there's a little picture right there. Now, people, there are some people who go on Twitter, and it's just sex, 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 talk about sex, and showing off. There are some that'll show you everything, but a lot of them are just, they'll show you boobs or under boob. They won't show you direct boob, but like cleavage and stuff like that. And it's a way that, in the end, I guess it empowers the women to make them feel good about themselves, and it also is a way to draw more people, because a lot of men like boobs. Not all men, and I will admit that entirely. I love boobs, but that's just me. National Boobs Avi Day is what it is. So for their avatar, a lot of people don't want to show their faces, so they want to get as much attention as they can. So a lot of women, they just show their cleavage or their under boob and stuff like that. And so I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And yet Check I Day didn't mention it. So then I started reading through all my Twitters, and it's been popping up all over Twitter, and you check, and sure enough, there's boobs everywhere. So if you haven't been on Twitter today and you like boobs, you might want to check it out and type in hashtag National Boob Avi Day, and you'll see some stuff about that. Now, if you don't like that stuff, well, you don't like that stuff. No one does. We'll talk about other things. But that's the reason why. And it's also, it's a way to try to draw people to come to my show, because right now, Scott, you're the only one watching it live. And as always, I appreciate that more than you know. And I love that I have a semi-regular when you can. I know you can. And I know Patrick Smith was on last week with me for a good portion of time. And there have been other people who've watched a lot. But again, I don't do this to get views. I mean, I'd like to get more viewers, obviously. And so I've tried different things to try to get more viewers. So today I figured, why not? I was going to talk about boobs anyway. Let's mention boobs. And so I got boobs everywhere, and apparently it didn't work. So we're going to go back to holidays then. So that was why I did the Boob Avi Day thing, because it's not on Check I Day. Surprisingly not. Shouldn't it be? You'd think, but it's not. So I guess it's either something that was just created. Maybe I should send them a link that says, hey, you should really put National Boob Avi Day on your list of holidays. I don't think they'd appreciate it. So that's the kind of stuff Check I Day does. So we're done talking about boobs. So if you're just joining us, you miss boobs. Maybe I'll just keep saying boobs during the show, just randomly, so people keep watching. So hey, if you're watching this after I've downloaded it and replaying it, keep watching. I may say boobs a couple more times. So yesterday was Friday, obviously. Yesterday was Collector Car Appreciation Day, National Grand Marnier Day. If you like Grand Marnier, you should have drank some of that yesterday. National Tape Measure Day, and Pandemonium Day was yesterday also. Shark Awareness Day, which is surprising. You'd think that'd be during Shark Week, which is in a couple weeks, but it's not. Thursday has an interesting one. Barbershop Music Appreciation Day. Beans and Franks Day. Embrace Your Geekiness Day was on Thursday. Fool's Paradise Day was Thursday. Go West Day was Thursday. Gruntled Workers Day was Thursday. National French Fries Day was Thursday. And that's it. I'm not going to go. Actually, that's a weird one. On Wednesday, Different Colored Eyes Day. Internet-wide Day of Action for Net Neutrality, National Eat Your Jello Day, National Pecan Pie Day, Simplicity Day. That was all Wednesday. Now, I can give you a sneak peek about what tomorrow's going to bring. I'll just go right to Check iDay's website. Boom. And let's move the date to tomorrow. And tomorrow is National Corn Fritter Day, National Fresh Spinach Day, National Ice Cream Day is tomorrow. And that's perfect because I can segue into another story I'm going to talk about in a second. National Ice Cream Day. National Ice Cream Day is tomorrow. Tomorrow. Go get some ice cream. National Personal Chef Day. I wish I had a personal chef. All I do is call my wife. Oh, no. I do a lot of cooking too. I mean, I'm not creative like Dawn is, but you know, I do some cooking. And that's it. So that's it for tomorrow. So it's National Ice Cream Day tomorrow. Scott, gotta get some ice cream tomorrow, man. And everybody else out there, get some ice cream too. And that's a good segue then. So that's it for Check iDay. It's all done with holidays. Boo Babby Days today. Enjoy it. It won't be Boo Babby Day tomorrow. Tomorrow's National Ice Cream Day. And that leads me into something I talked about last week. Now, Scott, you might remember this because I talked a little bit about it last week, but I'll bring it up again. I wanted to say, I like to try new stuff. So whenever I hear something new that's out, mostly sweets, they do a lot like Pop-Tarts and Oreo and ice cream. They've been doing a lot of different crazy things, and I try to find them and get them. Reese's also, they do a lot of that too. But I also like to try some different sodas and drinks and stuff like that. As I said, I tried the cinnamon Pepsi. It's terrible. Don't do it. But they announced a while back that Edie's was going to release Twinkie ice cream. Now, they released Twinkie ice cream, and they released the cupcake, the chocolate cupcake that Hostess cupcake that they do. They released that in a frozen treat thing, you know, one of those things that's made it entirely of ice cream, but it looks like that. And I think I saw they also made an ice cream of that as well. So I said, you know what, I want to try the Twinkie ice cream because my mom's interesting. She loves Twinkies, she loves Peeps, and she loves Spam. I don't know. So since it was something new, and I like Twinkies, I just don't eat them all. I don't eat them a lot. I mean, and we lost them for a while. There was a while there where there was no Twinkies whatsoever. But now they're back, and now they've made ice cream. So the other day I bought some, and I think actually I really truly believe after I finished up last week's show, and there goes Scott. Scott doesn't hear about it. He's still back on. After last week's show, what I like to do is after I finish my show, I need to sort of unwind a little bit. I know it's so stressful doing this show, 200 episodes, almost 200 episodes in. But I like to just get caught up on Twitter because I'm not on Twitter now, so I don't know what's going on in the world right now. And I like to get caught up on that and see if I got any more viewers on my show. And then I try to wait for it to finally upload all the way. I take a look at it, and then I release it out to the world. So I bought some last weekend, and so I grabbed it, and because Dawn was away last weekend with my son, I decided to just sit down, and I'm the type of guy, and I know this is bad, but this is how I roll. I eat ice cream directly from the container. Now, look, I know it's double dipping basically. You scoop it out with a spoon, you put the spoon in your mouth, you eat it, and you put it back in, and you do that. Yeah, I know it's double dipping. I get it. But you know what? It's a whole lot easier than just going 1 scoop, 2 scoop, 3 scoop, I'm done. This way I can eat as much as I want, which is not good either. But, at least I can eat as much as I want or as little as I want, and not waste any of it. So I tried it. It was okay. I mean, it's not the greatest ice cream in the world, but it doesn't suck. And it's like it's kind of like yeah, that is it. Thank you, Scott. He says the best way to eat ice cream. It's the only way to eat ice cream. I'm going to eat ice cream on Ice Cream Day tomorrow, Sunday. For those who are watching it on tape delay, yeah, it was Ice Cream Day. I'm going to eat that directly from the container. Actually, I already had my ice cream today. I went to the Cow, which is our local, like Rita's type of place, but it's locally run. So I'm actually stuffed. I'm not going to have any, but I got it. But that's how I do it. I mean, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't the amazing ice cream I've ever had, but it wasn't the suckiest ice cream I've ever had. I couldn't even tell you what the suckiest ice cream I ever had was. But it's a good. It's on there. So if you like Twinkies, it's kind of it's like a sweet cream, like the cream center of a Twinkie, and it's got kind of, I guess there's bits of sponge cake in there, kind of, not necessarily Twinkie sponge cake, but it's like actual sponge cake is sort of mixed in with that. So it's not really like eating a Twinkie anyway, because it's more of a sweet cream ice cream, which is really good. Which, if you ever had sweet cream ice cream, it's actually really good. And there might be some sponge cake pieces in it, so it's not bad. Um, uh, but as I said, it's not like, oh my God, everyone, you've got to try this ice cream. No, it's good. It's good. But at the same time, I don't know what I was expecting, but for a Twinkie ice cream with the sweet cream and some sponge cake in it, it does a pretty good job of what it's doing. So there's that. So now that I know it's National Ice Cream Day, I'm going to eat some tomorrow. Actually, I just bought some ice cream today. My kids like the Breyers vanilla and chocolate mixed together. So they get ice cream usually like once a week for their treat. It's usually on Friday night. And special occasions like tonight, we took them to the Cow, which I've talked about the Cow before on the show. But Scott, if you don't remember, if you don't know what it is, or anyone out there who's just watching the show for the first time, I live in Reisterstown, Maryland. We are one of the oldest cities in the United States, and we're very historic. But and we're a small town. So in our town, we have a place called the Cow. It's exactly like Rita's. Well, I wouldn't say exactly like Rita's, but it has about, I swear, it's like 50 to 60 Italian ice flavors. It's got your vanilla and chocolate soft serve, but during the summer when it's their busiest time, they get like 4 or 5 different soft serve ice creams, so you can try that. Plus, you can also get sundaes and milkshakes and concrete, which is like the Dairy Queen solid ice cream, which I can't think of the name of it right now, which you mix with M&Ms or Reese's Pieces or peanut butter or whatever, and you get that type of thing. And then their banana splits. Oh my God, one person can't eat it. I mean, it's like this big. I'm not making this. It's like this big. It's like almost like a dozen bananas. Not really, but it's like maybe 4 bananas, and then it's like globs of ice cream and whipped cream and cherries and sprinkles and chocolate syrup and marshmallow. Everything on my it is. I watch people get those things, and I'm like, holy God, are you going to eat that yourself? I'm just like, I couldn't eat that myself, and I'm a big fat ass. So we went to the Cow. So we get the gelati, which is a mix of Italian ice and soft serve ice cream. And as I said, they got like 50 to 60 different flavors. They got new ones for the summer, and they're open from, say, March to Christmas. Christmas Eve. I guess they say they're open until Christmas. They're probably open on Christmas Eve, but maybe not. But right around that time, it's from March to Christmas Eve. They are open, and then they close from Christmas to March again, because who wants to go get ice cream and stuff in the middle of winter? But in the fall and winter here, like into December, November, here in Maryland, September you get a little bit of Indian summer, which means it can still get really, really warm in September, even though technically fall begins in September. October is a mixed bag. We've had snow at the end of October before, and we've had 100-degree days in October. So again, it's sort of a mixture here, but we tend to average October weather, which is about the 60s, low 70s, which is gorgeous. And we usually, depending, we usually get some rain on there too, but they're open for that too. So it's still pretty good their hours are drastically cut, obviously, because not everyone's going to be there, and most of their workers are kids, students anyway. So they probably open like 3 o'clock on a weekday and stay open till like 9 or something like that. So people after dinner can go and get a treat. It's still, I mean, it could still be chilly at night, but it's still fun to get ice cream. You're not going to stop getting ice cream like at 31 Flavors or something like that, Cold Stone Creamery, whatever, during the winter. If you have a Jones for ice cream, you're going to want ice cream. Now, the only problem with the Cow is there's no place to sit indoors. You have to sit outside. So a lot of times you can buy the stuff and then drive home with it, eat it in your house if it's too cold out. And then as as the fall starts hitting, their Italian they release a bunch of new Italian ice flavors during the summer. They get taken off the self-serve specialty ice ones. They get taken off the shelf, so you just get your vanilla and chocolate and your 50 or so regular Italian ice ones. But they do some, like they do a pumpkin pie one and an apple pie all year round. So when you get into that fall Jones and thing for a pumpkin pie, Italian ice or gelati, or an apple pie gelati, they have it as well. They have a Nutella Italian ice flavor and gelati as well. So well, it's really good. It's actually really good. So we went there today because my daughter, I was going to talk about this too, Noelle, is going away to Girl Scout camp tomorrow. So as a we had our last dinner with her until Friday because it is sleepaway camp, and so as a treat we took them to the cow, and Noelle got fudgy brownie with chocolate soft serve. My son got cookies and cream with chocolate soft serve, which was, I'd never had that before. It was delicious. Dawn wanted the chocolate Whopper based on the candy, but they had run out, so they couldn't make any more. So they'll get some more in this week or whatever, and they'll make some more up. So she got frozen hot chocolate, which is really good too, with chocolate ice cream. And I wanted to try one of the summer flavors, so I tried spearmint. And spearmint's okay. I mean, it wasn't too minty, and mixing with vanilla ice cream, it was okay. It wasn't phenomenal. It was a lot like the Twinkie ice cream. It was okay. It wasn't the worst I've ever had there, but it wasn't the best I've ever had there. So it was fine. And I probably one of the things that maybe I'll get once a year, and that might be about it. It is refreshing though, which is nice. So I got that. So that's good. But my daughter, about a year ago, I was talking about this on the show, and so I'm going to talk about it again. She's in the Girl Scouts, and there is a all summer long Girl Scout camp that's up in Conowingo, which is probably about, I don't know, 45 minutes away, maybe an hour, depending on traffic from here. And it's a really nice camping area, and it's a weekly camp. And every week has a different theme. And you can do as many as you want or as little as you want. So if you only want to do one, you only do one. If you want to do 5, you do 5. As I said, it's going to cost you money each time you do it. And there's like no deal where you get 5 weeks for such and so. No, you have to pay, and go there. But they have a drop off. If you want to drop them off in your car, you can. Or if you want to drop them off at a predetermined drop off point, and the bus will be there to take them to. We do that because it's a whole lot easier. And so last year was her first year doing the Girl Scout camp. It was the first time she was away from home by herself, without her parents and her brother, ever in her life for a long extended period of time. It's 5 days: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then she comes back on Friday. And she sleeps there, and they camp. They have cabins, and there's other girls there, stuff like that. So last year she did the Hunger Games themed camp thing. Now, I know that sounds pretty bad. They have everybody fight each other. No. The point of these Girl Scout camps is to teach them in an entertaining way how to survive in the wilderness. So, Hunger Games, remember Katniss had to know what food was good and which one wasn't, and how to have a shelter and stuff like that. And there goes Scott, and oh no, Scott's back, yay. It's weird. It pops out as 0 viewers and then it comes back. Maybe you're flipping stuff around. Yeah, you can go if you want. I don't care, but I do care. I'd like to have you on the whole time, Scott. But anyway, so she did that, and so they take the theme and make it interesting by connecting it to something. So when she signed up for the Hunger Games, she read the Hunger Games, she saw the movie, so she was aware of what the situation was. So she had a blast, great time. They've got a pool up there and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So this year, she's doing zombie survival. It's awesome. They did the Hunger Games again, but she said she already did that one. And they also do like a Harry Potter one. But she said, I don't know if I want to do that one this year. So she saw zombie survival, and she said, I want to do that one. And luckily, her friend is going to be doing it also. Yep. Good. I'm glad, Scott. No, it's just weird. Sometimes it says 0 viewers, and then you pop back in. So either something disconnects or something like that. I don't know. But regardless, I'm glad you're there. I'm glad it makes your work day go fast. So she's doing zombie survival this year. So I don't know if they're going to have like counselors who are going to be dressed as zombies, pretending to go after them. But again, it's going to be how you survive in the zombie apocalypse. You know, got to learn how to make fire and make maybe archery, and so it's going to be technically what she did last year, because let's be honest, Hunger Games and zombie apocalypse are fairly similar if you're trying to figure out how you're going to survive in the woods. It's basically the same thing: how you find shelter, how you find fresh water, what foods you want to use, how to defend yourself, that type of thing. But I'm sure they're going to add some little wrinkles here and there to make it more interesting and make it separate from each other. And it's very possible they did that for her Hunger Game one. She didn't really go into much detail when she came back, despite the fact that Dawn was badgering her about it. So she's starting her zombie survival tomorrow, and a friend of hers is actually going to be up there with her. So that's really, really cool. She didn't have a friend up there. She made new friends, obviously, because she's a very personable person. But to be actually able to go to a camp with someone you actually know and like to hang out with, like last year, her friend, I'm not going to mention her name, her family, she asked if she could take a friend to a concert up at Hershey Park, and she wanted Noelle to come, and Noelle's like, yeah, I'll go. It was one of those recent, contemporary pop stars nowadays, female one. I can't think of it right now. Not Taylor Swift, but it was one of those in the same sort of type of way. And it wasn't Ariana Grande either, but it was, it was like, oh shoot. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The name will probably pop in my head before I know it. So she got to go to her first concert with her friend. So now they're going to be doing zombie apocalypse survival together for the whole week. So they'll be together for the whole week. So she has one friend she knows up there. So that's really cool. So I hope she has a good time. This will be her second year doing it. This is going to be her friend's first year doing it. So Noelle's a pro, and she'll tell her how to handle things. So I'll miss her, obviously, but it's it's good for her to get out there and learn some stuff. Speaking of zombie survival, a sad story. You probably heard about it. A stuntman was killed on the Walking Dead set earlier this week, performing a stunt, obviously. He originally was injured, and then he died of his injuries. They have shut down production of the show, barring some investigations. They'll probably start up in another week or so. So it's kind of sad when stunt people die or things happen on a TV or film set and injures stuntmen or production members or cast members. So it's sad. So thoughts and prayers are with the family in this tough time, and the show will go on. They're not going to shut it down because of that, but it's going to permeate throughout the rest of the season. The cast members who've known this person for years and done stunts for them, and a situation that makes them think, it was a stunt person doing it for me, so I wouldn't have to do this dangerous stunt, and they died because I wasn't going to do this stunt. But it's all done for safety. So, it wasn't like there was a lax in safety. It's just sometimes accidents happen. When Bruce Lee's son passed away, Brandon Lee, when he died making The Crow, that was a total accident also. And accidents happen, unfortunately. So condolences to him and his family. I guess since we're on the sad stories, I can talk about another sad story here before we get back into some good stuff. This is more local, and this is going to sort of maybe open up a discussion. Here in Baltimore, we have a really nice zoo. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there who think zoos are inhumane, that animals should not be locked up. They should be out in free and wandering in the wild, which, I tend to agree with. Um, but at the same time, I like zoos because it gives me a chance to see animals, not necessarily in their natural habitat, but in a fairly good simulation of it. You know, animals I don't really see all that often, get a chance to see them interact with other animals. And the Baltimore Zoo is pretty good. They have, they do have some cages, but a lot of it is a lot of open space for the animals. So they're not really like in cages. I mean, though I know the leopard is in a cage, and the jaguars, they've got some wall, not jaguars, cheetahs. The walls are high enough for them, they won't be able to scale, but they're sort of in an open area. But the leopard is in a cage, but it's a pretty massive cage though. It's not a little skinny, can't move around cage. No, it's a really big cage. It's got a couple trees in it, some stones, a little creek runs through it, and it's got a little house that he can go into if it's too hot and go and chill out in there. But the Baltimore Zoo is overshadowed by the zoo down the road, which is the National Zoo in Washington. Now, the National Zoo in Washington is free. You go down there, you go in for free. You don't have to pay anything to get in. Not the case here in Baltimore. Baltimore, you got to pay to go to our zoo because the National Zoo is run through government grants, because it's run through the Smithsonian. And so the government basically runs that zoo, and they basically pay the fee they pay to run the zoo, so we don't have to pay. And while the National Zoo is nice, I like my little Baltimore Zoo because it's in the middle of Druid Hill Park, so we're surrounded by trees and woods and forest. It's one of the oldest zoos in the country, and it's undergone some changes. It used to be much bigger, and then they were losing money, so they shortened it a little bit, and they've been expanding it a little bit more and making more of a habitat instead of cages, which is good. And it's divided up into really 3 different sections. There's the kids zoo, there's Africa, and there is the polar bear watch. And then I guess you can throw the penguin thing in there now too. The penguins were part of the Africa section for the longest time, but because the penguins were very popular and the penguin habitat was so old that they wanted to refurbish it, they got a grant to refurbish it. So now there's a really nice modern penguin facility right smack dab in the center of the zoo. And it's educational, and there's lots of penguins, and it's really neat, and it's big, and it's worked out because we've had baby penguins, lots of baby penguins, and they're adorable, and it's a really nice habitat for them. Now, the kids zoo is really cool also. It has been picked as one of the best children's zoo in the country before. It basically follows the Maryland ecosystem for the most part, because Maryland I'm a Marylander. I was born and bred here. I am forever a Marylander. Even if I move away, Maryland is always going to be my home. It's going to be my home state because I was born and raised here. And Maryland is one of the neatest states in the union, not only just because I live here, but because it is what we call America in miniature. And I've talked about this before too, but Maryland has everything with the exception of a desert. It doesn't have a desert, but we've got mountains, we've got oceans, we've got rivers, we have lakes, we have a giant bay, we have big cities, we've got farmland, we've got residential areas, nice size, good amount sized cities. We've got big roads, we've got farmland, we've got plateau areas, we've got parks, we've got historical cities. We have everything, except for deserts. So it's what we call America miniature, because you can find pretty much anything here in Maryland that you can find anywhere else in the country. Of course, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, I talked about how crappy the weather is, but that's true. But regardless, this is my state. always be my state. Um, so the kids zoo follows the Maryland ecosystem. It starts off with, like, the wetlands, and has animals that are, in the wetlands, like ducks and birds and frogs and owls and stuff like that lives in there. And then they move up to the other areas as the ecosystem, caves and farmland and mountains. So each area has animals in it. So we just got bobcats, we got otters, we have a cave full of snakes and lizards and bats and cool stuff like that, and it's dark all the time. And then we've got farm area where we've got farm animals, but you can also have a goat petting zoo, which is fantastic, and that leads to the food court. And then you have Africa, which is the majority of the zoo, which you've got animals located all across Africa. So you have zebras and rhinos and leopards and cheetahs and giraffes and elephants and lions and monkeys. And our zoo has been able to have, we've had baby giraffes, we've had baby elephants, baby penguins, baby lions. So, and they also help a lot of injured animals that are injured. Like the bobcats we got were discovered as cubs, and their mother had been killed, and they were not going to be able to survive in the wild. So they scooped them up and they got them, and they have a nice little bobcat habitat for them. So a lot of some of the animals, and then the cheetahs we had some cheetahs that died, and we got a new brother and sister set. They were injured as well, and we've worked them back to health and stuff like that, and we've kept them in the zoo. So a lot of time, yes, while zoos are, you might think, are inhumane because animals should be out in the wild surviving, truth be told, a lot of these animals, if they were still out in the wild and had never been in the zoo, might not have made it. And yes, you could call that natural selection, but I still like to go to the zoo, and my kids like to go to the zoo, and my wife likes to go to the zoo, and I like to see prairie dogs and bobcats and elephants and zebras and cheetahs and penguins and monkeys. I like to see all that stuff, and it's fascinating, and it's really cool, and it's in a really nice setting. I mean, they're in a park, and it's all trees and woods and stuff like that, so you're surrounded. In the middle of Baltimore City is this giant park, and there's the zoo in there. Now, we had some good news earlier this year. A baby giraffe was born, and is in good health, and everything's good, and she's getting bigger and bigger, and now she's actually been going out more and more and hanging out with the other giraffes now. And then we had Julius. He was a male that was born recently also. But unlike, I forget the name of the female giraffe baby that was born this year, but unlike her, Julius had a lot of medical problems, and it took the zoo a long time to try to, cure him. And unfortunately, they failed. He died today. He's only a few months old, and it's a devastating blow to the Baltimore Zoo, for the trainers or the zookeepers who are trying to keep him alive. Obviously, we don't know what the parents are going through because we don't speak giraffe or know if giraffes even understand what happened. I'm sure they do. So it's kind of sad. I mean, we had a lot of sadness at the zoo, because when you get into a situation like this, you're going to have sadness. But there's gladness also. I said we had a baby giraffe born. There was a baby elephant born a few years ago, Samson. And he's been really, really healthy until a couple years ago when he had a situation. And the zookeepers were not sure exactly what was going on. But they worked hard, and they were able to cure him. And he's getting bigger now and bigger every day. And he's still alive because of them. So, sad news that we lost Julius, the baby giraffe. It would have been nice to have two baby giraffes. But the fact is we have one. And sometimes that might be enough. I mean, I like the zoo, and there are some zoos that might be considered inhumane. I think the Baltimore Zoo does a fantastic job, and you can call me Homer if you want. I don't care. But it is one of my favorite zoos, and I've been to a few of them, and I really like it. And it's local. My kids love it. We are actually members of it, and it's a nice, if you want to just spend the day outside, it's not far away. It's about a half hour away from here. And it's a nice little, exercise, a good place to walk. And Pokemon Go hunting, I talked about Pokemon Go last week. There's a nest of something there. I mean, they do nest migrations, which after a few weeks, a different Pokemon nest appears, and then you see them all the time. Last time we were there was a Pikachu nest, so everywhere we walk, Pikachu, 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 Pikachu. Before that was a Voltorb one, which is like a little ball that was an electric ball type of thing, and I'd never gotten one before. So when I got there, I got like 10 of them. So it was really cool. So it's nice exercise. It's good workers. It's one of the nicest zoos I've ever been to. Again, I'm not trying to be a homer, but you compare it to some of the other zoos. It looks like they take good care of their animals. They give them presents. We've been there at Easter time. They give them giant Easter eggs that have treats in them for them, and you get to see them tear up the Easter egg to get to the treats. It's really neat. And as I said, a lot of them are not in cages. The leopard is, but a lot of them are in high-walled habitats. So there's no roof over them, but it's too high for them to try to jump out of, but it's low enough that they can wander around. There's like an African savanna. There's a watering hole for the rhino and the zebras and the ostriches to hang out in. And, we've got a dik-dik, and we've got a warthog, and we have a giraffe feeding area where you can actually feed the giraffes like bamboo. Not bamboo, it's like these leaves that the zookeepers say is kind of like their candy. It's like candy. I mean, it's good for them, but you don't want to give them too much. We have lions. Lions gave birth to 3 babies, and we've had to ship some of those babies to, well, we don't need to, but we've shipped lions, these baby lion cubs, when they've grown out of, when they're adolescent now, they don't need their parents anymore, to other zoos, so other areas across the country can experience lions and maybe have them breed with other lions and keep the lion population going. So, and yes, I know they're in captivity and all stuff, but I've never seen, I mean, obviously they're not going to do it directly, but I've never heard or never seen any situation where there was a news story or whatever that any animals at the zoo were treated badly. All I've heard is just good stuff from them. So, and they do a lot of really fun things, fun events for kids and grown-ups. And it's a really nice day out. So that's my take on that. Let's stick with science, may as well. 4 great white sharks have been discovered with their livers removed with surgical precision. The 4th one washed up on the shore of South Africa or Australia a couple days ago, but surgical precision. So it's not like it wasn't attacked by some other sharks who said, no, bite off a whole side of them. No, it was like perfectly like sucked out. Now, when you say surgical precision, the first thing that might pop in your head is aliens, because with the cattle mutilations, when you look at the dead body of the cow, a lot of the pieces of the cows have been surgically removed, which means that it wasn't a coyote or a wolf or fox or whatever attacking the cattle. It was someone cutting the pieces out and leaving the rest of the body around and untouched. So, is that proof of aliens? Is it proof that they're taking bits and pieces of cattle? No, it's not proof. And the fact is we haven't heard of a lot of cattle mutilations lately anyway, so that might be a good thing. But when you hear surgical precision, that's the first thing that I was like, wow, someone is actually taking the livers out of great white sharks with surgical precision. Interesting. But now they're saying that it's killer whales that are doing it. But that doesn't jive me, because you'd think killer whales would attack and would cause more damage to the shark instead of a surgical precision removal of a liver. I don't know, though. I just found it a fascinating story because science is cool. The Chinese just teleported the quantum state of a photon into orbit. Now, I guess I'm not a quantum physicist, so I don't know what that is, but teleported from Earth to space, a quantum particle. I don't even know how you would discover if you did it. They're quantum physicists. They know what they're doing, so I try to trust that. But the key word here is teleported. And was here, and now it's here. And maybe that could be the start of setup of teleporters like on Star Trek. I don't know. But again, I thought that was kind of a neat story. And it made the rounds this week as well. Let's see. What do I got on this side? Oh, I know. Let's talk about why I hate summer again. Last week I went on a tangent about why I hate summer. I did it last year. I did the year before. I will do it next year. I hate summer. Now, summer has its bonuses, as I pointed out in my spiel. My birthday is just before summer. My son's birthday is during the summer. July 4th is during the summer. Vacations. It's warmer, stuff like that. But there's a lot of shit about summer. And I already detailed them. I'm not going to detail them anymore. But I can add another thing to the list. Summer is my busiest time at my job. Now, for those who don't know what I do, is I'm a uniform. I'm a production manager at a uniform distribution facility, which means we have clients that require uniforms, and we give it to them. We hem pants. We embroider stuff. We do heat seal. This is a heat seal shirt. Embroidery is like writing names and stuff on shirts. We do patches, striping on pants. And, one of our accounts is GCA. It's a cleaning service. So they require also that we provide them with traffic, or not traffic, but they're traffic cones or slippery when wet signs or goggles or battery things. And also we do a lot of security stuff. So we have in stock, we have pepper spray, we've got batons, we've got, stuff that police put on their holsters and stuff like that. We also offer those as well. But one of our salesmen, is a military school salesman. He went to the Naval Academy, did his time, and now he's doing this. But because he went to the Naval Academy and was in the Navy doing his service, he made a lot of contacts. And once he was able to do whatever he wanted to, once his service was up, he decided to go into the sales field and go visit military schools, because there's a lot of military schools across the country, and get them to get their uniforms through us. Now, it's a big deal for him because he's making a lot of money, because a lot of the uniforms are made to measure. So we physically make the uniforms for them. So he's got to, if he's able to do that, he's got to get the rolls of fabric for next year's uniforms shipped out by this fall, so that our makers will make the uniforms and then get them back to us in plenty of time to set up for next summer. Because it's not like, okay, this goes here, so shirt's done. No, they've got to cut it out. They've got to sew every piece here. They got to add cotton. It takes a long time. And he can charge a lot of money for that because it's made to measure. So he makes a good fortune like that. So he's gone out and he's gotten a bunch of military schools to order their uniforms for the year. So we're talking 300 to 600 uniforms a year. And we're talking pants and shirts and blouse coats and jackets and hats sometimes, and blankets sometimes. And in some cases, we've had mesh shorts and sweatpants and sweatshirts and stuff like that. So he has a lot of military schools. So obviously, this is what I call military summer. So during the summer is when we have to get a lot of these done. They get patches, special buttons put on them, and there's a lot of them. Pants get hemmed, get striping on them. Some get barcodes put on them. Some have to sew pockets on, or sew the pockets shut. Some you have to actually sew pockets on or epaulets on. There's a whole lot of stuff. So my sewing department, which I'm in charge of, gets bogged down because we've got hundreds of these. He's spaced out enough that we ship a bunch in June, we ship a bunch in July, we ship a bunch in August. But it's a lot of stuff, and it's a lot of product. You have to get stuff done to it. But then we also clothe the plebes at the Naval Academy. Now, we had the Naval Academy before we got this salesman who went to the Naval Academy. So when he came on board, we sort of let him run because it's his alma mater. So he knows the people and he knows what to do. And he probably remembered when he was there, and we did the same thing with him, because we've had the Naval Academy for a really long time. And our company is very successful now, but for a while there we weren't. And the Naval Academy was the one thing that kept us in business, because they spend a lot of money. I'm talking like in the millions to get uniformed. So what we do is the last week of June is I-Day, which is induction day, which is when the freshmen, or the plebes in this case, they do plebe summer, where they arrive at the Naval Academy and they go through basically a boot camp for about 2 months during the summer. Get them beaten down, get them prepped up into being in great physical shape before the upperclassmen come in at the end of August, I guess. And then they do their education, do all that stuff. So during I-Day, we go down there and we measure their pants for them. So guy comes up, they say, I'm a waist 33. So we grab size 33 waist, it's unhemmed. They put it on them and they mark where the hem is, and then takes it away. Now everyone gets 6 pairs of pants. So they get bundled together with a tag put on, and they get thrown into laundry bins. Now the Naval Academy laundry bin, they put them through a giant cleaning thing. They clean all them, rebundle them up, or they just wash them in the bundles. I don't know how they do it. And then they ship them to us, because now we have to cut and hem these pants. We're talking 6,000 pairs of pants. And we have the month of July to cut and hem 6,000 pairs of pants. Now, I know it sounds like a lot, but every year that I've been there for 10 years now, we've made our deadline every year. We start off a little slow, but then we always seem to hit our stride and get in the end. We have to cut between 300 to 500 a day, and we have to hem between 300 and 500 a day. And this year is the first year where we had an ace sewer who had done all the sewing, was really fast and really good. She retired, and we had a really good person who could cut like 800 pairs of pants in a day. They left to go get another job because they were a young girl. She was in college and doing it during the summers. But now she got her job, so she's not doing it. So I have new people doing it this year, and we started off really slow, but we're starting to hit our stride now, and we're actually doing more than hemming more than our one person did, because we've got 2 people on it, and my cutter, while not hitting 800, is hitting 400, which is really, really where I kind of want it. 800 is just outrageous. 400 is about where I need it. So I'm in good shape right now. I mean, today's what, the 15th? I have until August 1st to get all of them done. Now, I've already got over 1,000 of them cut and hemmed, so I'm in good shape right there. Yes. Now, another thing is, it says 6,000, but in reality, it's more like 4,000, because the additional 2,000 are khaki pants that the plebes wear for nicer events, and they don't have to wear them until we get into the fall semester. These pants we're cutting for them now, they need to have by the beginning of August, so they can continue training in them and stuff like that. But these khaki pants, they don't need those till like the beginning of the school year for everybody, which is in September. So we still have that time. So roughly we've got, well, we don't work on the weekends usually. We'll get to that in a second. But I've got, let's see, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20, 21, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 31. So I've got 11 days. And if I need to, we'll come in on the weekends and we'll finish up. But we're in good shape right now. We're hitting the pace we need to right now. Got 11 days to finish this project. And I'm going to be able to. But it's my most stressful time because the owners of the company, they totally freak out every year. If the numbers aren't matching up, they add immense pressure to me, which stresses me out. So this month is the suckiest month for me. It just happens to fall in the middle of the suckiest season in summer. Now, why else is it? Why else am I mentioning all this? Because today I had to freaking go into work for 5 hours, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now, I know, Scott, I know you're working now, and I know and you're the night shift, and it sucks, but I'm not really used to that. I very rarely work on Saturdays. I've done it a few times, maybe once or twice during the summer. I do it occasionally, and this might be my once or twice time, but I don't remember going in any Saturday last year. And I don't like that because, and again, I don't want you to think I'm Neil New Scott or whatever, or anyone who works on the weekends, but I need my weekend. I work Monday through Friday. It's a hard, stressful job. I do more than just walk around and bark orders. I do a lot of the work also, and it tires me out. And then come home and have the kids, which I love my kids, but they're spitballs. They're 10 and 7, so they want to keep running and doing stuff and stuff like that. So by 9:30, 9 o'clock, 9:30, when they're in bed, I'm exhausted, as is Dawn. So my weekends are my time that I can recover. I can sleep in. I can just lounge around the house, do stuff I want to do. Not today. I had to go into work today. I had to work 5 hours because of military summer, which is why summer sucks. I don't have to go in the fall or the winter usually because it's a little bit slower. I go in on Saturdays during the summer. So that's why I hate Saturdays. I had to do that today. We'll see if I have to do it next week. I don't know if I will, or should I lie and say I got something to do next weekend and I can't come in? I don't know. Regardless, it wasn't too bad today. I did some other stuff that I did, and I wasn't constantly being asked how to do things. In my sewing department can pretty much run themselves, and they got a lot of work done today. So it was okay, but I'm tired. So now tomorrow is going to feel like my Saturday. I'll be able to sleep in tomorrow. I'll be able to lounge around tomorrow. But then the next day, I'm back at work again. And it's hot. That's why summer sucks. I probably shouldn't tell this story, but I will. I'm not going to mention any names, but we discovered this week that a former employee of ours, good thing it's 10:33 and I'm talking about this 1 hour into my show, former employee of ours was caught this week for indecent exposure. He was busted for indecent exposure this week. Apparently, he likes to drive to the local Walmart or local restaurant, drive through, and if there's a pretty girl around that area, he whips his thang out and starts, jerking his gherkin. And then he drives away. It doesn't last too long. He does it quickly. They see it, and then he doesn't want to let, because they might recognize him or whatever, or be able to describe him, and he takes off. Well, he's been known. He's done it 2 or 3 other times and never got busted until most recently when he did it not too long ago. The woman who was witness to it caught the license plate, called the police, they ran a check, and they arrested him for indecent exposure. So they had his the mug shot up on the screen, and it was a big story, and it was like a top trending story on local websites. And you see his picture the whole time, and you're like, yeah, I knew that guy for about 6 months. I worked with him. And I can't tell you why, but there's another reason why it's disturbing for me personally. All right, I'll tell you. He shared my name, not my first name, not my last name. That's all I'm going to say about that. If you really want to know about it, probably check my Facebook page. I posted it. But that's the story. So that was an interesting thing, and that that got a lot of play this week. What do we got here? Let's see. It's 10:35. This is interesting. I can add that connected to all my movie stuff. I'll be doing that movie stuff in a second. Oh, here's some science real quick. We'll do one more science story, and then we'll hit some review stuff. Oh, there's 2 science things I want to talk about. This is one science thing I wanted to talk about last week, but I didn't get around to it. There was a video posted on Facebook of a bunch of crickets chirping, and the guy or gal who posted it slowed it down in the sound. He taped the crickets. You hear the chirping outside your door, your window, outside in your yard all the time. It's really loud sometimes. He / she, I forget if it was male or female, they taped for a long period of time crickets doing their cricket thing, chirping away. And they decided to manipulate it on the computer, and they slowed it down. And what they heard was fascinating, and they posted the video with the sound quality on it. I read the story, and I hit the video, and I listened to it. Let's see if I can find it. It sounded like a church choir. It was absolutely beautiful, and something I was not expecting. Let me see if I can find it. Crickets. Crickets. Let's do S. Slowed down. There it is. Crickets slowed down. There we go. Is this it? Yeah. Now, they kept the cricket sound normal, and then the slowed down one is that, doesn't it sound like a choir? You probably can't hear it too well because it's probably distorted over the computer, but I'm going to share this on Facebook. Scott, are you on Facebook? Let me see. It's insane. Let me see if Scott's on. Yep, there you are. All right, Scott, I just shared this to your page. You have to listen to this. It was probably distorted over the computer, but it sounded like a choir to me, and it was so cool. I listened. It's like a 2-minute video, and I listened to it. And then the way they did was they combined the regular speed crickets with this choir, and it is absolutely stunningly beautiful what it sounds like. So yay for science again. Giant ice sheet, like 1.1 trillion miles long or something like that, billion miles long, whatever. Yeah, it tore off of Antarctica and is now floating upwards towards like Australia and stuff like that. It's a massive piece of Antarctica ice. I talked about it raining in Antarctica last week. Now we have a giant ass piece of Antarctica again tore off and floating away. Yeah, climate change isn't real. So they're following these, see where it goes. I mean, there's always been stories about someone wanting to drag an iceberg to like countries that need water and it's full of fresh water, but how would they get it to like say Africa from Antarctica? If they did it by boat, it would melt, and by the time it got to the country needed, there wouldn't be enough for the country. This might be a different story, but it's floating on its own, so nobody's in control of it. So we'll see. It's going to eventually probably melt on its own too. Yeah, I want to do that real quick. I talked about hating summer real quick. Here's some tips to stay cool. Go swimming. Go swimming pool. My wife mentioned today that my kids are thinking about maybe we should join a pool, and I have to agree with that. I think that'd be kind of cool. I talked about the Italian iced gelati at the Cow. You can go to Rita's also. That's a chain, so you can probably get sort of a similar thing there. Except their flavors, they have specific ones, and they've got some different stuff as well, which is fine. A regional thing around here is called a snowball. It's basically shaved ice with syrup on it. You get marshmallow put on it, or chocolate, or whatever. It's actually really good. I haven't had a snowball in a while, but it's like a regional Maryland thing. Air conditioning and cool foods like salads, stuff like that. I guess I was trying to kill time by doing that. It's all typical stuff. So, all right, let's do some reviews here. First up, talking about cool stuff. Actually, let me just see if this is no. All right, something else. Talking about cool stuff. I have been discovering that I like nonfiction books a lot more than fiction books recently. So I've been reading a lot more nonfiction books. My newest book I just read is called Braving It. It's a father, a daughter, an unforgettable journey into the Alaskan wilds, written by James Campbell. So James Campbell decided his daughter is 16 years old, his oldest daughter, I believe, and she appears to be very similar to him. They live in Wisconsin, but he spent some time in Alaska, and he's like got wanderlust and likes to go and do different things. And he and his wife were sort of that way until they decided to have a family, and then they needed a place to be more, controlled and centered. They couldn't be living in the wilderness, stuff like that. They just didn't have it in them. But the wilderness kept calling. So eventually James noticed in his daughter, his oldest daughter, who I forget what her name is, Aiden, his 15-year-old daughter, Aiden, has sort of the same wanderlust that he has. And during his journeys in Alaska, he's made a lot of friends up there, a lot of ones who live in the bush, meaning the old style bush people who build a log cabin in the middle of the Alaskan wilderness, and they go hunting, and they are in the middle of nowhere, and the only way you can get to them is via airplane, and they have to survive in the brutally harsh summer, believe it or not, with mosquitoes that are much bigger than our mosquitoes here, and also they can get pretty warm up there too, because they have almost 24-hour sunlight up there for a while. Maybe not get to be like in the 90s and 100, but they still get some really, really warm days. And also because it is still Alaska and it's near the Arctic, they still get some really, really cold nights, and they get some snow as well. So you only have a small window during the summer to get your house fortified for the winter if you're a bush person, get your stuff prepped for the winter, because it gets a lot harder to go hunting and doing stuff in the winter. Even though you still need to be prepped and have enough stuff just in case you're not successful during the winter. You still need to be able to survive. And the fact is, there's nobody around you for miles except for wilderness. And you have to deal with the problems that arise with that. But they're the bush people. They grew up that way. That's what they love to do. So James knew of a guy named Hamo, who he made acquaintance with, and he knew that, been in contact with him, and he knew that Hamo was getting ready to build a new cabin, and he only has a limited amount of time during the summer to build it, and needs it to be prepped in time before the harsh Alaskan winter hits. So James decides he'll take Aiden up there, and they will aid Hemo into building this cabin, because you can probably build a cabin by yourself, but you're gonna need help. So James takes his daughter up there with him, and this book details that story. And it was Aiden's first time in there, understanding the bush mindset and how hard the work is, and also how rewarding it can be. And so after they're done, they go back down, and Aiden had sort of a epiphany. She is her dad. The wanderlust is there. And as soon as she gets back home to Wisconsin, she misses the wilds of Alaska. And so she doesn't seem to be quite the same, because she's wistfully wishing to go back to Alaska. And so he decides, may as well give it a chance, and we'll work, if we can work it out with teachers, stuff like that. Maybe we can go up there during the Alaskan winter, and you can help him, Hemo again, and his wife run trap lines and see how they survive in the brutal Alaskan winter, where temperatures can drop to -30 degrees during the day, and storms can pop up at any time. So the second part of the novel is their experiences during the winter. So again, after that's over with, they go back, and again, he notices Aiden is still wistful for that, and is kind of getting a little antsy because she's unhappy in safe Wisconsin. So he decides one last thing is, she turns 16. This will be the last time before, she might find a boyfriend and move on to college, stuff like that. Let's do one big last summer adventure. Plus, he's getting older, and he can't keep doing this. So he says, let's do one last big summer adventure. So they spend about 2 months up there riding the river in Alaska. And all those stories are in Braving It by James Campbell. A great nonfiction book, very well written by James Campbell. Descriptions of the Alaskan wilderness and the life of bush people is phenomenal. Stuff I didn't know about Alaska. Let me see if I can get a good picture of. Here's a good shot of Alaska, during summer, and then Alaska during the winter. Oops. So, it's a great, quick read, very entertaining, and it is mostly spent in the Alaska. So there's 3 Alaskan adventures in here. One during the summer, where they build a cabin. One as they're braving the winter, the brutal, brutal cold winter, and how bush people survive. You learn how they survive in this weather, both the brutal summers, the brutal winters, and then the two of them bonding over a river rafting trip, which doesn't go according to plan, and they're with a few other people as well. So it's a very entertaining book. Highly recommended for those who want to maybe dip their toe into some nonfiction, because, as I said, I like fiction, don't get me wrong, but nonfiction is more interesting to me nowadays. I guess it might be the history major in me that gets me interested. That I've been finding myself drawn more towards nonfiction books than fiction books. I'm actually reading 2 right now about the summer of 1927, and one about the American presidency in the 20th century. So I got those 2 books. I got some fiction books. I've read some fiction books, but I also read a lot of biographies now, and I enjoy them as well. But Braving It is one of those books that it's not bogged down in the writing. The descriptions of the Alaskan wilderness are absolutely stunning and are very well written by James Campbell. The family bonding, the father-daughter bonding is important to me, since I do have a daughter who is getting close to Aiden's age. Aiden is 15 when she starts her adventure. My daughter is only about 5 years out from that. She'll be 11 in December, so technically 4 years out from that. And gets an insight to the Alaskan bush people, which I've never really thought about. But the fact is, there are people up there in Alaska who live off of the land like in the old days. It's a lost art, but I don't know if I could do it. And reading that story, I know I can't do it. But it's fascinating nonetheless, and highly recommended. So for those interested in reading something at the beach, if you're going to the beach and you need a nice book here to read at the beach, Braving It by James Campbell, nonfiction book, father, daughter, and unforgettable journey in the Alaskan wild. It'd be an absolutely perfect summer book, summer beach read. I think that might be where my fascination started. I remember a few years ago, one of the first nonfiction books I read in the longest time was an account of John Wilkes Booth's escape from Abraham Lincoln and his eventual capture, and a lot of stuff I didn't know about the stuff that he went through. And the guy who wrote it like a crime story, even though it was based, it was all based on nonfiction. So it's always good to read one of those things, and I think I might need to go to the bookstore and buy myself another good nonfiction book before I go to the beach this year. I have some up there, like Theodore Roosevelt and how he set up the National Park Service. I think that's a really neat story as well. But I think I want something similar to Braving It, so I'm going to take a look at that and see if I can find a book just like that I can read at the beach. So definitely a really good beach read. If you want to stay cool during the hot summer, the details about what it's like in Alaska, not just in the summer, because in the summer, even though it can be brutally hot, it can also brutally be cold and brutally snow also. And might keep you cool. So Braving It is well worth it. A good nonfiction book to read at the beach this year or anytime really. Last weekend, when my wife was away with my son at OST, which is a Boy Scout camp, my daughter and I went to see Despicable Me 3. That's what she wanted to see. I liked the original Despicable Me movie, and the second one was okay. And then the Minion movie was fun. So I was looking forward to the third one, Despicable Me number 3. And leaving the theater, and now thinking about it in retrospect, it's a good film, but I think it's probably the weakest in the series. And it wasn't as funny as the other ones. I didn't find myself laughing as much as I did in the other ones. Now, the basic premise for those who don't know the Despicable Me movies, the world's greatest villain is slowly, he's getting older and he's slowly getting phased out as younger villains are starting to appear and are being more aggressive and popular. He has to find a new way to get back in the Villain Hall of Fame. So it comes with an idea to steal the moon. But in order to do that, he needs to get his hands on a shrink ray that was stolen from him by one of these young gun guys. So in order to get the shrink ray from this young gun guy, he notices that this guy allows 3 young girls, like my daughter's age, like 12, 13 years old, 10, and like 6 or 7, who are selling cookies for their orphanage into the house. So he decides to adopt them, and then while they distract him with selling the cookies or giving him the cookies that he ordered from them, he will sneak in and steal the shrink ray. But before it leads up to that, he, of course, in typical cliche family cartoon films, he at the time is annoyed by the girls, just wants to use them for this one gig, but gradually as he gets to know them and they start to get more and more involved in his life, he begins to realize that he kind of wants to be a dad to these 3 girls and wants to keep them. And that was the premise of the first one. The second one, he's now a hero. He's settled into his role as the dad for these 3 girls. But now these 3 girls want him to get a mom because he hasn't been dating. So they're trying to get a mom for them as well. So eventually the Anti-Villain League hires him because of his intimate knowledge into the villain's mindset to help them find another villain. And his partner is a female agent named Lucy. Of course, the two of them fall in love with each other, and then all kinds of heck breaks loose. The Minions movie was about the little yellow minions who work with Gru, the main character in the two movies, about how they got to be Gru's minions. That leads to the third movie. Third movie now has Gru and Lucy happily married. The girls are still with them, and they're growing up, stuff like that. But they both get fired from the Anti-Villain League when they failed to capture Balthazar Bratt, who is voiced by Trey Parker of South Park fame, and is obsessed with the 80s. So in order to get back into the good graces of the Anti-Villain League, the two of them decide they need to capture him. So they go rogue and try to capture him. But along the lines, they discover that Gru has a twin brother named Drew, who wants to try to convert Gru back to being a villain. But Gru sees this as an opportunity to get revenge on the true villain, Balthazar Bratt. That's the basic premise of it. There's some other stuff that goes on there, but now Trey Parker does a fantastic job as the villain in a different role than he was on South Park or in any of the movies that he's directed. And his 80s obsessed character is really interesting because I grew up in the 80s, so I got a lot of the jokes and the references, and to see someone so obsessed with the 80s is fascinating, as it were. But to me, a lot of the storylines in the film that were introduced get wrapped up really quickly. I mean, they're introduced and then get wrapped up. There was one about the oldest girl of Gru's accidentally saying she was going to get accidentally getting engaged to a young foreign kid, and when she discovers that that's the case, she tries to get out of it, but the kid's mom doesn't like that, so it's up to Lucy to try to help smooth things over, and she does, and that's the end of that story. And then the other one with the youngest girl is obsessed with unicorns and discovers that there might be a real unicorn in the forest. She goes hunting for it. Turns out to be a one-horned goat. But still, that gets wrapped up real quickly. The conflict between Gru and his brother Drew gets wrapped up very quickly also. So a lot of it just seemed like boom, 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 boom. And then also the minions go on strike and leave Gru because they want him to be evil again. That storyline gets wrapped up pretty quickly and easily too. So everything just seemed to get wrapped up real easily and stuff like that. I'll tell you right, if you like the other two Despicable Me movies and the Minions movie, you'll like this movie. I like the movie. There was just something about the film that didn't quite have the fascination and the interesting aspects of it that the first two did. And even the Minions movie was a little bit different than that. But it could be that it's an aging movie series, and we'll see if they. I mean, it made good money. It always did. It didn't make as much, I think, as the second one or the Minions movie, but it still made some good money. So I think it's still possible for a fourth one. But at this point, it's like, well, what else are you gonna do? So I don't know. So those are my reviews. I'm going to push this off again. Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie came out last weekend, had a good opening weekend. I think it was $115 million, which performed more than they thought. They thought it was only going to do $90 million, but it did more than that. So hooray for Spider-Man. Since I segued into that, may as well discuss some other stuff. Wonder Woman is now the highest grossing superhero movie of all time. MJ Khan and I sort of called that a couple months ago on our Dylan Knows comic show, so hooray for us. The Black Panther original cut, because that comes out in February, so the director has finished his first cut of the movie, is 4 hours long. So that's actually pretty good. It's a neat idea. And I kind of like to see maybe a 4-hour Black Panther movie, but we know that that's going to get knocked down incredibly. Maybe have to lose an hour and a half out of it, and hopefully maybe they'll put that on the Blu-ray or whatever. But 4 hours is a lot. But the Black Panther is such a really cool character, and they've got a really good cast and stuff like that. So we'll see. It's not our job to be the editor, so it's like that. Well, now that it's 11 o'clock, it's time to get a little blue. And this is a story I discovered also that's connected to what I was just discussing. Growing up in the 80s, I was born in 73. So 1980, I was 7. 81, 8, 82, 9, 83, 10, so on and so forth. So by the time 89 rolled around, I was 16 years old. So from 7 to 16 was the 1980s. So of course, that's a time where you go through puberty, and you start to notice more things about the opposite sex and stuff like that. If you're straight, if you're not, you might notice things about you might feel certain longing for that special someone, be it of the same sex or of a opposite sex. For me, it was for the opposite sex, and it's not necessarily like a girl in your class, which I did have girls I was interested in middle school, but my first true like celebrity crush I guess the proper term is pornographic visions, because when you're young, that's what you sort of, without getting too insanely gross about things, you feel a certain strangeness when you see this like actress or actor in some cases. For me, it was Bo Derek. The iconic running of her in 10. I think there was a poster I saw of her in her mesh swimsuit type of thing, where you could see all the bits and pieces. She did a couple of other. Bolero was a really sexy movie. I caught that, sneaked that, and saw that when I was younger. So it was my first kind of like, I guess to paraphrase Ethan Hawke in Before Sunrise, my first sexual feelings for someone was Bo Derek. And the other day, I read a story where they were contemplating putting Bo Derek in a Dazzler movie. Now, Dazzler is a mutant X-Men from the X-Men world who was created in the 1970s as a roller skating, white suit wearing, makeup-y, David Bowie sort of makeup spaceman that he did, kind of makeup. And she was considered to be the role of Dazzler, which would have been one of the earliest superhero movies of all time. I mean, Superman was in the 79, 80, so it was still fairly popular. So they thought, well, we start throwing some Marvel ones out there. And they picked Dazzler because I guess at the time frame, stuff like that. Would she have been a good one? She might not be the best actress in the world, but I think she would fit the role pretty good. So I just had to put that in there because Bo Derek was my first celebrity sexual feeling type of thing. It's 11 o'clock, so I can talk about that. Obviously, though, people are going to play this back. It's going to be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. They're like, whoa, what the hell are you talking about, Dylan? So that's kind of interesting. I have one more superhero thing, but I'm just going to take a tangent real quick here. I've never, and this is almost blasphemy, I love Martin Scorsese. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great director, and I like to hear him talk about film. He loves film so dearly and knows so much about it. He's a true fanatic of film. And the thing is, I'm not the biggest fan of his films. I've seen a few of them, but I'm not going absolute bonkers when they announce a new Scorsese film, and I'm not there opening weekend, or I'm not there buying the DVD or Blu-ray when it first comes out. I've never been that way with Scorsese. As I said, he's a fantastic director. He should have won the Oscar multiple times by now before he did it a few years ago. And I like him as a person, as a fan of film. He's very well versed in it and highly intelligent. But as I said, it's just not my type of movie that he makes. And this one, called The Irishman. It's his newest movie he's going to start working on. It's probably not going to come out till next year, probably next fall in time for Oscar season next year. Because they're just getting ready. They've just got the cast together. And my God, people out there, if you like Scorsese, this cast is going to blow your freaking mind. As always, Leonardo DiCaprio has been sort of his muse as of late. Leonardo DiCaprio is in The Irishman. But even though Leonardo has been his muse lately, Scorsese had a muse much earlier in the 1980s. And that actor's name is Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro is in The Irishman. Ooh, and it gets better. In the 1970s and 1980s, there were two phenomenal actors. One was Robert De Niro, and one was Mr. Al Pacino, from the Godfather movies particularly. And everyone thought the two of them would have played off each other so well in a movie. Now, yes, they were both in Godfather Part 2, but they were not in the same time frame. Robert De Niro played the younger version of Marlon Brando's character, Don Corleone, and Al Pacino was the head Corleone in the Godfather movies. Al Pacino's in The Irishman. Now, they worked together in Heat, and that was one of the greatest scenes in filmmaking history, is the sit-down discussion between Pacino and De Niro. One of the greatest scenes in film history. Two fantastic actors, the top of their game, working together. Then they did a smaller movie together, which I never saw. If it's like Reasonable Doubt or something like that, I never saw that one, but they did another one. Now they're in a Scorsese movie together with Leonardo DiCaprio. Oh, wait. Scorsese worked with another actor who hasn't been seen in almost 10 years in a movie. The actor's name is Joe Pesci. Now, Joe Pesci's had kind of retirement. He wanted to retire. Didn't feel like acting anymore. He's very kind of a shy, quiet guy, despite the fact that he plays these loud, bombastic characters in these movies. The Joe Pesci in real life is very shy and quiet. And he wanted to be done with it. He was done with acting. He was done. Scorsese pleaded and pleaded, got De Niro and Pacino and DiCaprio to all come to him and ask him separately, can you please come out of retirement just this one time? And Pesci kept saying, nope, 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 nope. And then he said yes. Leonardo DiCaprio, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci. Oh, wait. Harvey Keitel is in it as well. Bobby Cannavale is in it as well. Those are the big names right there. I mean, I don't know if they're going to cast any more than that, but those names alone is going to make The Irishman a huge hit. And the only other way it would be even bigger is if he can coax Daniel Day-Lewis out of retirement. Or get Liam Neeson in there again as well. Or Jack Nicholson, get him out of retirement to have him rejoin this as well. Just think of the cast then. But for now, DiCaprio, De Niro, Pacino, Keitel, Joe Pesci, Bobby Cannavale. The Irishman is going to blow your freaking mind next year. It's going to be another like mob type of movie, Goodfellas type of thing. I think it's about the guy who is thought to be the one that killed Jimmy Hoffa. So it's going to be about his rise and maybe end with him killing Jimmy Hoffa. They should get Nicholson to play Jimmy Hoffa again. That would be pretty cool. I think Hoffa's too old though, but I mean, Nicholson's too old, but it would still be cool because Hoffa was an okay movie. It could have been a whole lot better. But it's interesting. So is that going to be enough to entice me? I don't know, because as I said, I'm not a big Scorsese fan, but if you're a Scorsese fan or just a movie fan in general, that cast has got to be blowing your freaking mind. Speaking of getting your mind blown, boobs. See, I told you I was going to bring it up again. It took me a while, but I brought it up again. That's not what I was talking about. But so Disney has a convention called D23, where I guess they reveal stuff. Or I think it's not just Disney, but I think it is just Disney because they revealed the video games that they're working on, I guess TV shows they're working on, and the movies that they're working on. So they had some behind the scenes stuff of Star Wars The Last Jedi, since Disney owns them, that blew some people's minds. I haven't seen it yet, but they showed some behind the scenes stuff, and they showed some new posters and stuff like that. But what blew everybody's mind away at D23, and when I read the description, it blew my mind, is the first look at Avengers Infinity War. Now, the news came out this week that Avengers Infinity War has finished preliminary filming. So the actors get a chance to take a breath, because they're going to have to come back and make the second part. Even though it's not going to be technically a part 2, they're going to have to make the second part very soon afterwards, because they're going to try to shoot it back to back, but they're going to have to edit a little bit. So they're going to probably get maybe like a month vacation, and then they got to come back and do the second part of this film. So Avengers 4. So Avengers Infinity War is finished preliminary film making. So the actors, as I say, get a chance to take a breather. So because that's the case, they've been filming for a long time now. So now they've got lots of film, and they've been editing it and working on it during the filming. And they have now released some of the footage, but only at D23. And now the people there had their minds blown away by it. And this is the description that they're giving us of what they saw. They saw Thor fly into the windshield of the Guardians of the Galaxy's Milano ship, and Rocket say, "Get it off, use the wipers," which is a joke thing, but Thor with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Peter Quill teamed up with Doctor Strange. Thanos crushing heads with the gauntlet, as well as using what appeared to only be 2 of the stones to pull a piece of the moon out of orbit to crush the superheroes. Loki giving one of the Infinity Stones to Thanos. The Iron Spider costume, which is a yellow and red costume with spider things sticking out of it, made an appearance. Tom Holland, our new Spider-Man, on a bus with his spider sense, showing that he has spider senses starting to appear now, that there's trouble. And also they said something along the lines of him saying, "I'm sorry," or "I messed up," or something like that, and we all know what that means yet. The Hulkbuster armor is back from Tony Stark. Captain America with a beard. The Black Widow with blonde hair. The Black Panther and the Winter Soldier fronting an army. And I can't read what that says. My handwriting is so terrible. Oh, Gamora in the damage of the Collector's building. Remember in the original Guardians of the Galaxy movie where one of the Infinity Stones was, it blew up, and his Gamora returns to that, I guess, looking for the other stone. So, or something. So that's some of the footage that they've released there. That just seems to blow my mind, and that's just from written description. I haven't even seen it yet. Now, I'm sure eventually it's going to make its way onto the internet, and by then I will play it over and over and over again. But Wonder Woman, as I said, this year was probably going to be one of the highest, box office making movies of all time, and of this year probably. Avengers Infinity War is going to blow that out of the water, I think. Nothing against Wonder Woman, but I think it is. This just sounds freaking awesome, and exactly what fans of the Marvel Cinematic Universe are looking forward to. I wore this shirt. even though I haven't been following Doctor Who as well as I should have, the 13th Doctor will be announced on Sunday for those who are watching on tape delay. And by now, if you're watching this during the week, you already know who it is. So yay. I don't know because I'm filming this on a Saturday night, so I don't know who it is yet. So that's coming up tomorrow. So if you're a fan of that, keep an eye out for that. You'll be seeing that all over social media. Extending boxing gloves. I saw that. It's a little thing that, you know, has a boxing glove at the end, and you and your friend can click like that, and the boxing glove will go like the old Acme type of stuff, and you can hit each other, stuff like that. It's a new thing like there. A NASA scientist has built the world's largest super soaker gun. That's a good way to stay cool during the summer. I'm just getting ready to shoot a bunch of things. All right, let's do some food, and then I'm probably going to wrap this sucker up. What else was I say? I was going to talk about Young Guns. I always seem to push that off, but Billy the Kid died yesterday. So the anniversary died yesterday. The anniversary of his death was yesterday. The crappy Jersey Shore TV show from MTV is back on. So that's crap. But I need to tell you that because I hate that show, and it's news, I guess. It's t-shirt time. Cabs are here. Whatever. I hate it. My vacation's coming up soon. I'll be going on vacation in a couple weeks, going to the Outer Banks. Game of Thrones comes back on tomorrow, and it's going to be going up against The Return of the Strain in its final season, and also my show, Twin Peaks, which I will be watching over both of those. I am going to get to a Twin Peaks show. It might be next week. It might be in 2 weeks, but I'm going to get to it eventually. I'm going to try to get Mike Belinsky on here, and we're going to try to talk through some Twin Peaks stuff. I will be watching Twin Peaks, though. Everyone is going to be discussing, well, you're going to watch. You're going to watch Twin Peaks. You're going to watch Game of Thrones. So we'll find out how the ratings are tomorrow. But Twin Peaks is killing it this season. I love it. Finally, let's talk some food, and then I'm going to get the hell out of Dodge. All right. As I told you earlier, I like trying new and different things. I talked to you about, real quick, for food, San Diego Comic-Con is this week. Our good friend Stardust and Consweet Con and Murderlot, I think, are all out there now. So they're going to be out there getting ready to go. So don't forget my Twin Peaks Funko Pops, guys. So you'll be seeing stuff from them, but you'll be seeing all kinds of San Diego stuff starting on Wednesday. I've never gone. If I would have stayed at Diamond as a brand manager, it would have been my turn in 2006 to go to, no, 2007. In 2007, it would have been my turn to go to San Diego if I was still there as a brand manager, but I wasn't, and so I'm not there. So food, I like to try different types of food. Here's one I'm not going to try. Walmart is releasing fruit punch flavored pickles called Tropicals. Not an Onion story, not fake news. I saw that article. Tropicals, fruit punch flavored pickles. Yeah, no. That would be no. I don't even like pickles to begin with, but fruit punch flavored, come on, man. But here's the thing that I am excited about. Lay's potato chips, they're the ones that have sort of created this design your own flavor type of thing. And the Oreo has sort of taken that and run with it now. They do all kinds of new flavors on their own, but now they want to get more feedback to see what people want to see. They got that from Lay's because Lay's was the first company to say, you know what, we should ask our Lay's fans what kind of potato chips they would like us to make. And then we'll pick we'll pick 3 ones that we think are great. We'll release all 3 of them for a limited time, and people can vote for their favorite one, and then that one will go into our regular rotation. Now, the funny thing about Lay's is once they pick their 3, all 3 stay in the rotation, which is interesting because I don't know if that's just the way it is, or the grocery stores have the chance when they're doing their inventory, or they're ordering to order whatever they want, or they just order, we want Lay's, a case of Lay's, and they'll get whatever's in there, including some of these old style ones. So, a lot of the new flavors that were created, they are out now, and then the runners up are also out there now. So it's not bad. If you're one of the top 3, you're going to be at the grocery stores often. Well, this time they've got 10 that need to be narrowed down to 3, and then once they narrow them down to 3, they will release them, and they'll do the same thing over again. So I was looking at the 10 that they announced, and there's actually some pretty interesting ones on there that I think would actually be pretty darn good tasting. So I'm going to do this as sort of like similar to my list show that I do with Jerry Fletcher. I'll start with the one that's number 10 and go down to number 1. Now, because there's only 10 of these, the ones in the upper half, 10, 9, 8, 7, might not be ones that I particularly like, but I have, for the sake of this bit, I have to talk about them. So my number 10 of the new Lay's flavors that have been announced is spinach artichoke dip. I've never been a fan of spinach artichoke dip, and I know tomorrow is National Spinach Day, but I've never been a fan of spinach artichoke dip. But there are plenty of fans out there enough that they created a potato chip flavor that matches spinach artichoke dip, which I guess works. If you get that flavored chip, you can get spinach artichoke actual dip and dip your spinach artichoke dip potato chips into the spinach artichoke dip. Spinach artichoke. Number 9, bacon wrapped jalapeno poppers. I like bacon. I don't like jalapeno poppers. But in the end, you're not actually eating a jalapeno popper. You're just getting the taste of a jalapeno popper, which is sort of that veggie heat flavor with bacon. So that might be interesting, but I still don't know if I would actually buy a bag if they release that one and try it. Probably not. Number 8, fried green tomatoes. Now that's a southern thing, I guess. And I've never had a fried green tomato, and I don't know if I'd really like it or not, but a tomato flavored potato chip is not a bad idea. The BLT one that they do is actually really good. So if it's kind of a similar flavor to that, it might be okay. You get a little bit of a fried note to it. Yeah. Again, I don't know if I would actually go out of my way to buy that. Number 7 is interesting because I don't like the concept. But again, you're not eating the concept. You're eating the potato chip that tastes like the concept. In this case, the concept is Sloppy Joe. I like ground beef, but Sloppy Joes have the peppers and onions, which I am not a big fan of in it. So it's basically like ground beef, but with peppers and onions on a roll. That's what a Sloppy Joe is. So in potato chip format, if you can get a nice meat flavor to it and maybe a bit of a veggie type of sense to it, it might be pretty good. So we'll see. That one maybe I would try because of the meat aspect of it. Number 6, Nashville hot chicken, which I've never had before, but if it's anything like, like buffalo wing flavored potato chips, except it's a different style Nashville hot wing or hot chicken, it could be interesting. That might be one that might be worth experimenting on. We'll see. Now we get to the top 5. Number 5 is smoked Gouda and honey. Now that sounds like an odd pairing, a Gouda cheese and honey, which is very sweet, and Gouda, which is kind of a smoky flavor. And I don't know how that would come out as a chip, a sweet and smoky flavored chip. Particularly sweet. Sweet potato chips just don't sound appetizing, but smoke and honey together pushed it just a little bit over Nashville hot chicken because I'm not a big heat fan, but smoked Gouda, cheese, and a honey sort of flavor, it might work. The honey I'm still kind of a little bit on. This one's really interesting. Number 4, toasted ravioli. I've never heard of toasted ravioli before, but I like raviolis. So if you get sort of like that toasted flavor with a ravioli type of tomatoey, meaty type of thing with some pasta echoes to it, might be pretty good. So that might not be a bad one. Number 3, crispy taco. Can't go wrong with crispy taco. Ground beef, lettuce, tomato, cheese, maybe get a little guac flavor in there, some salsa flavor in there. Like a taco, that might actually be pretty good. So I kind of hope that's one of the finalists. Number 2, everything bagel. I used to make everything bagels all the time. Basically, an everything bagel has poppy seeds, sesame seeds, garlic, onion, salt, and there might be some other stuff in there. But the way we did it was, at our bagel shop that I worked at, we had about 33 flavors of bagels or whatever. So you would have the everything bagel, but you'd have a poppy seed bagel, you would have a garlic bagel, you would have an onion bagel, you would have a sesame bagel, you would have a salt bagel. So you have all those separate. But the everything bagel mixes all this together, and it combines very well, believe it or not. And we used to have a container for each one. So the salt would be there, and the garlic would be there, and the onion would be there, and poppies and sesame would have their own bins. But then what we do is we take all those seeds that we'd have, so they'd have their own bins, but then we'd take the extras that we had and we'd mix them all together into one bin, mix it together so you get the nice even mix of all that stuff, and dip your bagels in there that way. So you're going to get the poppy note, a sesame note, a garlic note, an onion note, a salty note, and I guess maybe a little bit of a bready note with the bagel. So that actually, I really hope they do that one, because I like everything bagels. If there's a wide variety of bagels on a table, I'll usually go for an everything bagel, because I like the majority of them, the different flavors you get with that one. And my number one is not to be trendy or anything like that, because this is a trendy selection, but because I love the taste of avocado. Avocado toast is the number one on my list. I hope they do avocado toast. I've been pushing for a guacamole flavored chip for the longest time. That's how I got into guacamole. Doritos used to do a guacamole flavored chip, and that's how I got into it. I really liked it, and then I decided to try actual guacamole, and I liked that. So, and then I had avocado, and I discovered, hey, that's guacamole, so it tastes good. And so I had actually had avocado cut up before. Now, I know avocado toast is the new trendy thing, but it's got avocado and it's got like a toasty note. And there might be more to it than that. I don't know what else goes into an avocado toast. There's cheese or whatever in there. But together, that might make a really nice tasting chip. So my hope is that avocado toast, crispy taco, and everything bagel are the three that get picked, get done. But the others, we'll see. All right, I think that is everything for today. Again, Scott, thank you for watching live. Everybody else, what's the matter with you? You start watching live like Scott does. Next week is the big one, episode 200. Episode 100 was a Harry Potter one. I'm not going to be doing a Harry Potter one for 200. I don't even know if I'm going to do anything special for 200. It might just be another episode of me just sitting around going, well, da, 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 da. Or I might be able to set up something with Official Pagan, Mike Belinsky, and we might turn episode 200 into a discussion of Twin Peaks. Or I might come up with something over the next week or so. So I don't know when it's going to be. It might be Saturday night again. It might be Sunday afternoon. It might be Friday night. It all depends. But next week's episode is number 200. And to me, that's an amazing accomplishment, and it makes me proud of my little show and that I've been able to stick with it for so long. And we're slowly approaching my 4-year. Episode 208 will be my 4th year anniversary episode. So after next week, I got 8 weeks to go before I get my fourth year anniversary episode. So I'm rashing closer to that, but episode 200 is next week. It blows my freaking mind that I'm able to do this. And I want to thank you all who have watched over the last 4 years for doing this and helped me get to this milestone of 200. So next up will be 208, and then 250, and then like 270 or something like that would be the 5-year. So we'll see what's going on. Episode 200 next week. 4 years in 8 episodes after that. So a lot of stuff still to come. Summer still sucks. Keep an eye out on the news. Stuff you see in the news starting tomorrow might be discussed on the show next week if I decide to do just a solo one. If anyone out there can come up with an idea for a 200th episode for me, I'll throw that out there for you. So with that, again, Scott, thank you for watching live. Everybody else, I hope you enjoy this episode. Whenever you watch it, hopefully I'll get a lot more viewers than I have been. And maybe I'll get my 3 thumbs down again. So until then, This is the end of episode 199. Next week, episode 200. Thanks for watching.